What's up, it's Cinema Shogun here, and the day before yesterday, I reported to you all about a little incident that took place in the air over the Black Sea involving an unmanned American drone and two Russian fighter jets. Now, America says that they were minding their own business, not bothering anybody, flying this drone in international waters, when suddenly two Russian fighter jets appeared and they followed this drone for 30 or 40 minutes and eventually dumped fuel all over this drone and then clipped the drone with one of their wings so the drone would go down, and the drone went down. It crashed right into the Black Sea. Now, Russia has come out and accused America of lying about this story. They say that this drone was headed right for their territory, if you will, that this drone turned its responders off. They weren't responding to anything, so naturally Russia scrambled some fighter jets to go see what this drone was doing, because these drones can and will carry tons of weapons and explosives. Now, Russia is claiming that the U.S. is lying about this and that the U.S. is trying to provoke World War III. They're trying to find any reason to start World War III. Now, in my opinion, if you ask me, World War III has already started. But everyone has different opinions or different views of what they think World War III will be. In my opinion, World War III started with a war on information, the information war. And if you all want me to make a video about this, let me know down in the comments below, because I am very passionate about this topic. I'm very knowledgeable about this topic. As someone who has interest in a lot of things, I've watched the beginnings of this information war. And it didn't start in politics. No, it started in pop culture. But I've witnessed the beginning of this information war. I have been an active participant in this information war, and so have you. We're all fighting in it right now. So in my opinion, World War III already started. It just looks different than what we think. But you know, people were asking me, why is this this situation such a big deal with this drone that was downed, if you will, over the Black Sea? Why is this a big deal? Well, you see, this is the first direct confrontation between Russia and the U.S. in I don't know how long. This is the first direct confrontation between the Russian military and the U.S. military since the war in Ukraine began. So make no mistake about it, even though I feel as if we're already involved in some portion or some form of World War III, this pushes us closer to full-scale military conflict. Like, we are knocking on the door of having boots on the ground in Ukraine fighting this war. Your kids, your grandkids losing their lives overseas in this war. And make no mistake about it, our government officials, our politicians, our mainstream media, they want this war. It's so weird to me that Democrats, who have, since I've been alive, Democrats, or a lot of them, were so opposed to war. And now all of a sudden, they all have Ukraine flags flying in their Twitter bios, and they're all obsessed with Ukraine, and they're all pushing for war. And then we have Republicans, who you would think would be pushing back on the Democrats because they hate each other so much. Yeah, right. But they're pushing for war too. So we have the usual faces from the Republican Party pushing for war, and now we have Democrats pushing for war out of nowhere. So both sides are giving us the illusion that they're fighting each other, they're bickering over things. They're all pushing us closer to full-scale military conflict. And so is the mainstream media, because the mainstream media is dying out. They are dying. People like me are replacing the mainstream media. So they want war because it's good for ratings. There's a lot of money to be made in war. And this little incident that took place is pushing us closer to that. A lot closer to that. But when this incident went down, the Pentagon said that they were going to release the video footage showing what actually happened. Because America has one story, Russia has another story. So without further ado, I was able to obtain that footage. So let's go ahead and check it out, and let's see what actually happened. Well, I don't know what that looked like to y'all, but to me, it looks like those Russian fighter jets did exactly what the U.S. said. They flew by, dumped fuel on it, and then clipped it and made it go down. So, the proof is in the pudding. Russia can deny it all they want. The proof is right there. But, make no mistake about it, it's not like we are innocent in all of this. You know, at the end of the day, I'm always going to be Team America. Not to be mistaken for the movie Team America. Yeah, come to save the freaking day, yeah. If you don't know about that movie, you should watch Team America. It's hilarious. It's so funny. It's from the creators of South Park. But anyway, it seems that we're telling the truth here as far as how the situation went down. But make no mistake about it. We're not flying that drone out there for leisure. We're out there surveying, doing surveillance on Russia. We're out there flying around, providing the Ukrainian army with information that helps them better fight this war. Like, we are flying over, letting them know where certain Russian troops are. You know what I mean? The positions of tanks and things of that nature. I could go into full detail, but I don't want to sit here and talk about that all day. But that's what our drones are doing. So when they shoot down these drones and you're like, oh, Russia's shooting down our drones, blah, 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 blah. Let's not forget that we're using these drones to help Ukraine fight this war. That's the only reason we're out there flying these things around. We're sending Ukraine all types of information that we're gathering from these drones. And, I mean, does that not sound to you like we're already involved in this war? We are sending Ukraine boatloads of money, tons of military equipment. How is Russia supposed to feel about that? If America was at war with Ukraine, let's say America was at war hypothetically with Ukraine, and Russia was sending them billions of dollars every other day, sending them countless tanks and everything, weapons, then at the end of the day, you're at war with Ukraine and Russia, right? That's what's happening here. This is a proxy war. We're basically already at war with Russia, except not directly. We're allowing other countries like Ukraine to do our bidding. We're sacrificing their people so we don't have to sacrifice our own, basically. We're weakening or trying to weaken Russia by using Ukraine as puppets to do so. So America isn't innocent in all of this. But at the end of the day, as far as how this situation went down, it went down exactly how it was reported to have went down. But what comes next? What comes after this? As of right now, as we speak, there is a race taking place. America, NATO, and Russia are all racing to recover this downed drone. Now, if this drone was just flying in international waters, not bothering anyone, it didn't collect any information, then it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But you see, that's not the case. This drone was most definitely used for military operations to help Ukraine. We all know that. So now, we have America and Russia all racing. They're all in the Black Sea trying to find and recover this drone. In the process of both of these militaries trying to recover this drone, is there a possibility that we have another minor confrontation? I mean, we have the Russian military and the US and NATO all with their ships in the water, all traveling to the same location, all trying to recover the same drone. That to me sounds like a recipe for disaster, or at least I think that opens up a big possibility of some type of conflict happening. And what people need to realize is that a lot of the big wars that have happened throughout history, when you think of a huge war, often you think of, oh, something big must have happened to cause this. But often that's not the case. Often there are little mistakes that lead to disaster. One side does something that they shouldn't have done. Next thing you know, we have a full-scale military conflict on our hands. So little mistakes, little teeny tiny confrontations like the one over the Black Sea could lead to literally nuclear war. Because make no mistake about it, we're dealing with two of the world's superpowers here. Russia and the US, we have enough weapons, we have enough nuclear bombs, missiles, what have you. We could destroy this world, this entire world, 1,000 times over. And that's what we're dealing with. That's the reality of this situation. So we have to be as careful and as delicate as we possibly can to ensure that it never goes to that it never comes to that. But we are inching ever closer to that as we speak. And as of right now, I don't see any resolution to this. Because when there were talks, there was a possibility of peace talks and a ceasefire in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia. And guess what happened? The US, the UK, we came together and we put a stop to it. We put a stop to peace talks in Ukraine because we want this thing to keep raging on. And the longer it rages on, the more and more we provide Ukraine with weapons and money and you name it, the more likely it's going to become that Russia and the US have more direct confrontations. America would not allow any country to do what we are doing in Ukraine. We would not allow that. So, in my opinion, I think this situation is going to get worse. I hope for a peaceful resolution. But the reality is, as someone, and I'm not like a history professor, but you have to go back through history and you realize that history repeats itself. We are in the process right now of our country trying to drum up support for another war. That's the phase that we're in right now. We're in the phase of our politicians and our mainstream media trying to hype you up to be okay with another war. Every time before war, there's this process where they gauge public interest in war, when they gauge the public's reception to war. And there's always this process of building up the enemy. We even saw it after 9/11. And then we went into Iraq because of WMDs and things that weren't even necessarily there. So we're creating this enemy, which is Russia. We're spreading this propaganda because they're trying to prepare the American public for a full-scale military conflict, which is on the horizon if things don't change quickly. But let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.